When hiring a new staff, there are a few steps that you should take in order to have a great experience. Determining what your core values are. What does it mean to you? What do you stand for? And why are you doing this? After you get that down, then you want to ask yourself, what are your top priorities? For example, somebody's going to say customer service is a top priority. That's great. However, not everyone's example of great customer service is the same. So what does that mean? What does it mean to have great customer service? After you determine your why, then you determine how are you going to do this? What is your customer service experience like? Who does a really great job at that is Zappos.com. They have built their business around company culture. So you can go there and learn about the different core values that businesses have. And it's better than just going and saying, okay, I need a massage therapist that is great at this, or I need a massage therapist full-time, part-time. But that's not really a description of what you're actually needing in your business. That will get you great interviewees, but it might not get you great quality. Let's look at your core values, what your core values are, and what your customer service experience is. And then what you do is you can pick a few and write them down and say, these are my core values. What here resonates with you? And then you'll get them to see, and they'll pick one or two. And from there, they talk about that. Have them explain that. Because here's the thing, when people talk long enough, they tell on themselves. And what you don't want to do is have a great honeymoon experience, and then at the end, it's a nightmare, and then it's harder to get them out of your clinic or your spa. Okay, so making sure that they talk about what does customer service look like to them? What does loyalty look like to them? What does work ethic look like to them? These are all things that you're going to need to know about your employee versus how many massages they can do in a day versus how do they feel about helping out at the office, folding sheets, maybe taking sheets to the laundromat if that's their job description, and teamwork. These are all things that you really need to determine during the interview process. Because if you do not do that, then those are the types of employees that we end up having problems with later, and that you end up having problems leading later because you didn't get those core values set from the very beginning. What does work ethic look like? Does it look like coming in early? Does it look like staying late? Does it look like making sure all of your soap notes are done before you leave? Does it look like making sure that I call the employer 24 hours before if I start to feel ill and just say, listen, I'm not feeling well. Would you like me to call the client myself and have them rescheduled? That's work ethic. I understand that we don't want to have people coming in if they're sick. However, the attempt, how can they help you resolve this? That is very important. Ask, how do you handle illness? How do you handle if let's say there's an issue with your vehicle? How would you handle those type of situations? Ask ahead of time because that will give you a clear vision of the expectation that they have of you, but also the expectation that you should have of them. You can put out a couple of examples and see if they agree or if they disagree. Great interviewee will agree. Oh yeah, oh absolutely, I'm gonna come in and my arm will be cut off, but I'm still coming into work. A great interviewee might say that. A perfect interviewee is gonna tell you, if I'm ill, I'll have to give you a call and let you know that I'm not coming in. However, I would feel responsible to help call the clients and get them rescheduled. Or I will call another massage therapist that works within the business and see if they're able to take my clients before I call you with the headache. So making sure that they're actually proactive and they can problem solve is great. We don't want employees who can't think on their feet. We don't want employees, but then again, we also don't want employees who are going to take over without speaking to you first. And if they say, I would ask you if you wanted me to call the clients, or I'd ask you if you wanted me to call the other massage therapist prior to, how do you want to handle that? That's a perfect employee. The ones who ask, How would you like for me to handle that in the event that this happens? You really want to be really tuned into your gut and not afraid to turn people away. This is really hard because we want to give everyone a chance and we want to like everyone and we want people to like us. And this is not about whether you like an employee or you like an interviewee or not. This is about if this interviewee is a good fit for your business. Because I can like you as a person, but it just not be a good fit in business. So you really want to make sure that you set that boundary, and you can tell an interviewee, I really like you, but for where we're going, this is not a good fit. This isn't about being nice, which I find this to be very true, especially in the wellness industry. When you can find someone that it's a good fit on both sides of the table, you're going to be growing slowly, but in a positive direction. Many times what will happen is that we end up hiring someone who should never have been an employee. The ones who I say should never be an employee are the ones who really their intention has always been to own their own business. They like to have their own schedule, they want to make their own income, and that is great. However, you could weed those people out during your interview process, during the process of finding out the core values. What are their wants? What are their long-term goals? And if their long-term goal is, I want to be self-employed one day, that doesn't necessarily disqualify them, but what it does, it gives you an opportunity to set some things in place. Now, I don't believe in a non-compete because a non-compete is not enforceable in any state. And I don't think that you should be able to tell people whether they can run a business. However, I do believe in contracts. And what I did is I set into place contracts that stated that I marketed for these clients. These clients were brought in through my business. So if you leave and you take the client, that's okay. However, this is the flat amount that you have to take per client. And that usually deterred people because that is enforceable. For them to take clients out of your business, that's enforceable for you to say, okay, this is how much it costs me to retain these clients. And it started for me was at $10,000 a client. That really keeps people from wanting to steal clients. But at the same time, you really can't steal a client, let's just say. But if they were obtained through working through your company, then absolutely you can do that. And every state is different, so I recommend that you talk to an attorney and have them draw up a contract. And then you can handle all of this prior to the hiring process. Then you don't have to worry about that while they're already working for you and it's already happening, and now you're like, oh wait, you got to sign this contract, and they're going to go, I'm not signing anything. So instead, what you would do is you would have them go ahead, fill out that contract ahead of time and just say, it's okay, however, this is how much you're going to pay per client. And then you'll have your checks and balances, because what can happen is that you will start to notice that your clients are starting to siphon and they're less and less, and you're going, what is happening with my clients? And it turns out that it was actually your employee who was doing work on the side, going to their home, maybe has another location, maybe has different hours, and they were being seen there versus being seen in your office. So I believe that the best thing to do is be upfront, and that way it doesn't have to be an uncomfortable conversation. It's just, these are my expectations. If you choose to do, this is what my expectation is going to be. So it's great to ask lots of questions during that interview process. For example, I hired someone who she had her own business, and then she decided it just wasn't for her. She didn't want to do the taxes. She didn't want the overhead. And at first I was like, oh, she had her own business. Maybe she's trying to do it again. And what I learned was that not everybody wants to be a business owner. Some people have done it and they're just like, I would rather have a clock in and clock out time set. I would like to have my dates set, have my clients come in, and that's it. When I go home, I don't have to deal with anything else. So there's a couple of questions that you can ask. The first question is, how many clients do you want? When you reach that goal of how many clients that you want, then what is the next step from there? You want to ask goal-oriented questions and ask, what does autonomy mean to you? What do you want to get out of coming to work for me? So just acknowledging that we're in an industry that most people go out on their own. acknowledging it up front paves the way for future and open communication. It's good to have that open communication. If this is someone that you're interested in hiring, you can invite them back before the onboarding process and say, this is what I expect here in my clinic or my spa. And if this grows and if it goes into the direction that you're wanting to run your own business, then this is how that's going to look.
Right.
When you have the right staff members on board, if you're in a situation to where you need to step away from your office, it's always great to leave with someone in charge. And you have to have that meeting with your staff and say, this person is in charge. This is what they are in charge of, their responsibility of. They will be reporting back to me. So if you ever have to be out, let's say there's an injury or an illness, or you have to go on vacation, or you get to go on vacation, you want to make sure that you have people in place that are not just going to be able to run the business, but who are going to do it the same way that you would. So you don't have to worry about what's happening back at the clinic or back at the spa, and they can run it with the same intention. You never want to leave your staff feeling like they are not supported. And that was a big mistake that I did, is that I ended up having to go on bed rest. And when I went on bed rest, it was pretty much, okay, you guys got it, and call me if you need anything. And that just, it caused a huge cluster. And in order to get that back on track, I ended up having to fire my whole staff because it had just gone way too far. And I did not know how to lead. So because I didn't know how to lead, I ended up having to fire the staff. And some of them I really shouldn't have hired in the first place. But it was a hard decision because I needed to run a business. And to all of a sudden stop your income was a hard thing to do. But here's the thing. You can make money, but if you have a bad employee, one that comes in late, one that has an attitude, one that, is trying to run your business and bulldozer over everyone, including yourself, that is going to hurt your business. So you really want to make sure that you are working smarter, not harder, and you hire slow, take your time hiring, but fire fast. Make sure that, listen, this is not working. You can have a meeting and talk about what are your expectations. And if those expectations are not met, you need to let them go. No more of this. They're really nice and they have these things going on at home in their personal life. You can care about that, but not if it's affecting your business. You cannot let it hurt your business. So caring is one thing, but being a business owner and saying, listen, you leave your problems at the door. If there's anything that I can help you with outside of here, I'm more than happy to assist in that. If you have an employee who has gone rogue, then a great way to get them back on track is to have meetings once a month, if you need to, quarterly, if you need to. If there's something that I don't like about, or I don't like how my business is being run, I need to do training, whether it's for myself or for the team, and make that training mandatory. But when you make the training mandatory, you want to also remember you need to pay your employees to be there. All right? Don't expect them to come on their day off if they're not supposed to be there. If you need to block the schedule during the day, okay, I'm going to block for 2 hours. We're doing mandatory training during this time. You're not going to be working on clients, but you are going to be receiving training and you will be paid during this time. Then that's what you need to do. Make sure that training is being enforced. If your employee has a problem with receiving training, then that is a very big sign that the employee is probably not a good fit for your company. Understand that hiring is a very difficult step for every business owner who is going to hire on and who is in the process of onboarding. Will have some difficult times with making sure that they pick the right person. So make sure that you're not picking the right interviewee, but you're actually picking the right person for your business.